Why interviewers love teachers who are pro in conducting assessment during their demo. What are those assessments expected in your demo lesson? If you think assessment means just final examination and a unit test, think again. Because in Dubai, assessment is a daily feedback loop. Let me show you how it works. So in many classrooms back in home, we teach for 6 months in a term. Then we revise for a week before the examination. We conduct one unit test and a final examination, and that's it. So a student has one shot to prove everything. But in Dubai, this approach is outdated. Here in Dubai, assessment is an ongoing process which is designed to check for the understanding every single day. Every single day that you walk in the class, you have to do assessment. Let me show you some ways so that you can have more quality and context to speak at the time of interview, and you can also use some of these assessment when you're going to give a demo, right? So consider this thing, that when you're going to give a demo in any school in Dubai, the students will be having their iPads, their laptop, their gadgets, right? So I would suggest that always start your so-called demo with a short quizzes. This quizzes would consist of 5 to 10 questions from the topic based on the rigor. When you do this quizzes, it will take hardly 5 minutes, and with that data that you get, you will get an idea that out of these 5 to 7 questions, what are those questions which most of the students has done wrong. So you got an idea that this questions or the topics related to this questions you have to stress more. So you have shown the interviewer that you are using quizzes to get the data, and also you are using the data to improvise and tailor your lesson. That's the first check, right? Next, let's say use the think, pair, share, which is very commonly used. So use this think, pair, share as a starter activity, right? So for example, your topic is force, right? So you can ask the student, okay, now you have 5 minutes to think about what force is, discuss it with your partner, and share one idea with the class. This thing will show that the teacher is basically know how to build reflective thinking and verbal reasoning in students. You need to show these things, right? It's all about showing things. So you have to make learning visible. That's a very common term. Learning is happening, but you have to make it visible so that the observer or the interviewer knows that, okay, she's using a quizzes. Okay, she's also using the data to tailor. So you, after using the quizzes, you have to mention it, verbalize it, that it turns out to be that these questions are the majority wrong questions. That means these questions we are going to give more time, or we are going to emphasize more on the discussion for this part of this topic, right? So we did the think, pair, share, right? Okay. Now think, pair, share, basically what you are trying to do, you are trying to build this reflective thinking, you're trying to build this verbal reasoning in students, right? Then once you have given a task, right, whatever task, let's say you have given a task to write an essay, right? You have given 5 to 10 minutes. Then use peer assessment. Now this peer assessment is basically again a tick box. So the interviewer gets the idea that the teacher is aware as how to build metacognitive skills and how to build in students to take ownership of their learning, right? So example would be, you can ask the students, okay, once you are done with your essay, use the rubric, make sure to carry the rubric with you. Use this rubric to assess your partner's writing. For what? For clarity, for the structure, for the grammar, right? Again, a tick box. Then another one you can use is concept mapping. Now you can use this as in the midway or at the end of a lesson, maybe somewhere about 3/4, half or 3/4 of the lesson when you have gone through. And let's say you're talking about, you're teaching, let's say, plant life cycles. So students are asked to draw a visual web or a mind map to show the stages of growth. Again a tick box. The interviewer gets the idea that teacher knows the way to connect students' ideas and organize their learning. So here, I'm telling you, it's about the teacher, right? We are considering that in a school, teachers are adults. So the teacher should be smart enough to know what strategy, what tools, what formative assessment, what CFU I have to use so that everyone is catered, right? Then the next one can be the Socratic questioning, one of the most common used CFU. When I'm saying CFU is basically check for understanding, right? Okay, so Socratic questioning is basically this is kind of a mandatory thing during the class discussion, and the example would be, let's say, why do you think the character acted this way? What might have happened if he chose differently? So asking questions again and again, and this question should not be a yes or no. Once there is a question, the question that you have put it, this should actually promote some reasoning in students. This should also promote some curiosity. This should also encourage some critical dialogue between you and the student. It should not be, okay, what do you think, which character performed this? They give the answer and that's it. No, it should be a dialogue, right? So the question should be framed in such a way that it is actually encouraging reasoning. It is also encouraging the participation and the discussion, right? Okay. Then you can use the quizzes, right? Okay. Now, when you are at the end of a lesson, I would suggest use the quizzes, the same which we did, but this time keep the questions similar, but a little bit more rigor. Now, what will this do? Try to understand from the interviewer perspective, right? What he's getting is, initially the teacher took a quizzes of 5 to 7 questions. She got the idea that these 5 to 6 questions are catering to different part of that topic, right? Okay. In that data, it turns out to be that these 2-3 questions, that means this topic or this part of the topic was a little struggling for the student. At the end, when you are taking the same quizzes with a little bit rigor and students are able to get the answer, you get the data, and in that data, it turns out to be that the part which they were struggling, now they were able to get the answer. So you are able to show progress. That means your teaching style, your teaching strategy has actually worked. Again, you have made the learning in the students visible, right? So you need to use this quizzes at the end for sure, right? Okay. Also, another advantage of this quizzes is, let's say they are not able to do it. It's not every single time that they will be able to do it, right? Let's say they are not able to do it. So again, you get an idea that which student is ready for the next topic and who needs reinforcement or maybe reteaching or extra support, right? So in either way, you are a win-win case. An interview gets an idea, right? Another strategy can be the 3-to-1 strategy, right? Now you can use this at the end of a topic again, right? The quizzes also, and after that you can use this 3-to-1 strategy, or there is an exit ticket also. And in this 3-to-1 strategy, it's basically the students are expected to write 3 things that they have learned, 2 questions that they still have, and 1 real life connection. Real life connection is a must. So anything that you are teaching, it has to be related with the real life application. Okay. This is again a checkbox tick for the EdTech tools compatibility for the teacher, right? Okay. So again, the interview getting the idea that teachers know how to summarize and assess comprehension beyond just recalling things, right? And the last one is basically learning journals. This is basically for the weekly reflection and homework. I don't think you will be able to use this for the demo because they will not be having their notebooks or something. So this is something which we can actually skip it, right? Okay. Okay, so these are the things. Just to recap, start with the quiz, right? You can write it as a do now, right? Start with the quiz, 5-6 questions. You get the data. Make sure to make it very verbalize this data. Make this data visible. Speak these things out, okay? Then starter activity, think, pair, share, right? Okay. Then once they got the answer, you can peer assessment, right? Again, you are encouraging the reflecting, right? Then in between, you can ask them this Socratic questioning, that is the check for understanding, critical dialogue. The question, you should make sure that when you go for the demo, you should have some questions in hand that you need to ask these questions in between, okay, right? Then you can have the concept mapping, right? And then to consolidate, you can use this 3-to-1 strategy, right? And that's it. Khalas, okay? This is more than enough if you're able to do it, right? Kindly make sure that few things you need to ensure that whenever you are giving a demo, don't speak a lot. So you're not supposed to teach, okay? The simple example is when you go for a gym, for the fitness, right? The trainer tells you that you have to do these exercises and you do the exercises. The trainer doesn't do the exercise for you. You got the point? So that's the same thing. When you are going there, actually when you're coming here and doing the demo, here the teaching is basically a kind of a facilitator. So you have to create the environment, give them the tools, and they need to use that rigor. They need to do that hard work. You just need to facilitate their learning. If they get stuck, ask them some questions, right? Give them some questions in that group discussions. I'm going to make video for that also, how the class should be arranged at the time of demo, right? Okay. So the final tips, I would say that in Dubai interviews, you don't just say what you use. You show when and how you use it. Practice these strategies now so that it flows very naturally during your demo lesson. And remember, Dubai schools want teachers who track learning. It's not just about grading. How are you keeping a track of the learning? So these formative tools are basically to keep the track of the learning. Who is doing well? Who needs support? What kind of support? What is the problem? What are the cause? Right? Okay. And please kindly make sure that if you are being asked questions at the time of interview about the formative assessment or check for understanding, and when you have given that I use quizzes, I use peer assessment, I use this, always end your answer about the formative assessment with these one-liners. For example, when you said about the formative tools, at the end, consolidate with this, that I have experienced that formative tools help spot the learning gaps very early stage. Or you can say, I have experienced that formative tools actually, make the instruction very personalized, right? Or you can say that formative tools actually helped me to build confidence in students. So all these one-liners you need to use, okay? So if your teaching relies only on summative test, that means the final examination and unit test, then you will be looked as an outdated in Dubai interview. Start using these formative tools now so that you can talk the talk and you can walk the walk in your demo lesson, right? Comment below formative ready if you want a real life lesson plan. Why did I say live? Okay, real lesson plan example using these strategies. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.